Good morning eSkaters, Nate from eSkate Hub here, and today I've got the second video that I will be doing for this board right here, which is the Teamgee H20, their brand new release. I did a live stream of the unboxing last night, so if you managed to check that out, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't seen it yet, don't even bother watching it. I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the Teamgee H20 right here today. It was actually quite an adventure getting this electric skateboard into my hands because I'm currently in Belgrade in Serbia and they don't allow the importation of lithium-ion batteries. So what I had to do was get the board shipped over to Budapest in Hungary, and I rented a car, drove from here to Budapest, 5 hours there, picked up the board, drove 5 hours back, so that I can do this review. So I hope this board was worth the trouble that it took to get it. I can't wait to get outside and give it a good ride and test it and show you what it's all about. But as you can see, I'm in my tracksuit pants and socks, so let me show you the specs while I go get ready to take it outside. The Teamgee H20's deck is 36.6 inches long and 10 inches wide, made of 7 layers of Canadian maple with 1 layer of fiberglass, and it has a low to medium flex in it. It has a slight drop down with a W-shaped concave along the deck. The center of the W is actually quite flat, almost unnoticeable, but the edges of the deck are raised, in my opinion, to a perfect height. The grip tape is as coarse as any other grip tape. It's enough to cut my fingers up when I carry it, and it has the classic Teamgee stripes down the middle with the logo in the center. Plus, it has a handy little arrow at the front of the e-board to remind you which way is forward. We've got 90mm 83A wheels with a contact surface area of 54mm. And the PU sleeves around the motors on the back are replaceable. Teamgee also sends out a second pair of PU sleeves, which is nice. There's nothing really significant to note about the trucks. It's got stock standard skate trucks at the front and those good old hub motor trucks at the back. The Teamgee H20 is propelled by dual 540 watt hub motors, and they are huge. They're literally bursting out of the sleeves. On the spec sheet, these motors are capable of pushing you up to 26.5 miles per hour, which is 42 kilometers an hour. But we're going to test that out a little later on. The battery is a 10S 3P array of 18650 cells totaling 7.5 amp hours and 270 watt hours. This means you're not going to be able to take it on an airplane at all. This setup is spec'd to give you up to 25 miles or 40 kilometers of range, but we'll also be putting that to the test today. The remote is fairly straightforward. Even though it doesn't have a rubbery coating, the plastic has a bit of a matte finish, which is really nice. You turn the e-board on with a single click, and also the remote with a single click of the power button at the bottom here. It pairs instantly, and you can tell it's connected by the flashing signal on the remote display. The display shows the remote's battery on the left and the e-board's battery level on the right, but there's no indication of which is which, so it could get a little confusing when out on a ride. It's just something that you're going to have to get used to. There's an odometer for the total distance ever ridden, a trip length just underneath that odometer, your current speed measured in kilometers. The braking mode that you're in is denoted by a B followed by the number of that mode. The riding mode is denoted by an F for forward, then the riding mode. If the e-board is in reverse, that F will change to a B, signifying backward. In the bottom right is the connectivity indicator, solid for not connected and flashing for connected, which feels a little backward to me, but seems to be the norm in eSkate these days. Lastly, there's a tiny little bar above the speedo, which stumped me at first. I had no idea what it was, so I had to flick through the manual and find out exactly what it was. It ended up being the current value for the battery. So you'll see it extends to the right when you're accelerating, and it'll extend to the left when braking. You use the thumb wheel to accelerate and brake. It's got a really short distance between neutral and max, which initially brings some concerns about the smoothness of the acceleration, but that will have to be tested out on our first ride. To change speed modes, you click this button at the top, which I'm going to call the mode button, and it cycles through L for low, M for medium, H for high, and H plus for super freaking hyper mode. Nah, I'm just kidding, it's just high plus. L has a top speed of 7.5 miles per hour or 12 kilometers an hour. M goes up to 17.5 miles per hour or 28 kilometers an hour. H tops out at 27.5 miles an hour or 44 kilometers an hour. And H plus has the same top speed as H, but with a punchier acceleration. There are also 4 braking modes, aptly named B1, B2, B3, and B4. all of which get progressively stronger as you move up. To change the braking mode on the remote, you hold the thumb wheel in the braking position and click that mode button as it cycles through them. This button here, the cog button, activates cruise control. And lastly, you can change the direction of the motors by flicking this switch on the side, putting it essentially into reverse. The accessories you receive in the box are a T-tool, a hex key, a charger for the board and USB cable for the remote, a strap-on, white LED headlight that is, another red strap-on LED light for the rear, and a pair of red translucent PU sleeves for the hub motors. So that's all of the Teamgee H20 specs. Let's take her out for a spin. Alright, this is it, my first ride. Chuck on my tracking app. You can track the ride, the top speed, the range, it's all going to be done through here. I'm going to start in low mode 1, brake mode 1. Alright. Low mode is super slow. It's 12 kilometers an hour. I'm gonna turn this up right now. Medium mode. Yeah, there's a significant difference in that. This board is really quite good. So the highest mode I've been in so far is just the H mode, I assume is the high. There is the H plus mode, which I'm gonna give a go now. It's the same top speed, it's just got more acceleration. And we'll see how it goes. This turning circle is, trucks aren't that loose. But it's got a decent turning circle on it. Alright, acceleration the H plus. I also thought I'd try the top speed just there. I think I hit 37 kilometers an hour on the remote. I'll have to check the ride app to see exactly how fast I was going. 5.4, 5.5, 5.6. Oh, looks a lot steeper than that. Alright, this is the hill we're gonna go up. 5.6 degrees. I mean, it's hitting 15, 16 kilometers an hour, 17 kilometers an hour, 21, 20 kilometers an hour. It's getting faster. Or it gets steeper here. It gets steeper here. I'm gonna have to measure it on the way back. I can feel it slowing down. Well, I mean, it didn't power up the hill, but I made it. 20 kilometers an hour up this hill, I'd say is, you know, not too bad. It's gonna do it. It didn't die. 7.8. Shit. Didn't think it was steeper here, but it's a lot steeper. So I'm gonna ride at about 24 kilometers an hour, and I'm gonna brake at where my bag is. The first one I'll do is a braking mode 1, and then I'll do 2, 3, and 4, and then I will do a top speed braking test on braking 4. All right, wish me luck. Mode 2. Mode 3. This is going to be braking mode 4. Now I'm going to do a top speed braking test. Ride at top speed on the H+ mode and brake at braking mode 4, which is the strongest braking mode. I'm gonna brake right there where my backpack is, and then I'll step it back in meters to see how far it is, and I'll convert it into feet for you. Here we go. "28 steps. It's about 28-30 meters probably. It's a fairly long braking distance. Nothing compared to belt-driven boards. Belt-driven boards generally stop a lot quicker than that. This is what you get with hub motors. It does take a little bit longer to brake, but you don't have to have the maintenance of belts. That's just one of the trade-offs. Belt drives are more performant, but hub drives are much easier, sleeker, quieter. I find that the power on them is, quite gradual. It's not super fast like I have experienced on some of the boards, but it's a nice, easy acceleration. You don't feel like you're gonna ever be thrown off. Even when braking, it's actually quite comfortable. My favorite part about the board is the actual deck itself and its shape. I love the shape. I feel it underneath my toes and my heels precisely at all times. The raised shoulders, the concave shape make it super easy to turn. I haven't even loosened the trucks. Once I loosen these trucks off, it's going to be a dream board to ride. This is not a board for advanced riders. This is probably more inclined to either beginners or those intermediate riders who want to get a good quality electric skateboard without having to spend a ton of money. But I'm not finished there. That's just my first impressions. I'm going to finish this range test and see how it goes.
If I could only be some kind of poet.
So I just got back and I've realized that I forgot to show the cruise control. To activate cruise control, all you need to do is, while you're accelerating, click that cog button and you'll see a little symbol down the bottom underneath the speedo saying CRU for cruise. Then to deactivate it, you can either accelerate, brake, or click that cog button again. Keep in mind that the cruise control only works while you're accelerating. It doesn't work while you're coasting. So on the range test, the roads were 50% smooth, 50% not so great. I also did the full braking test, the top speed test, the hill climb test, all while measuring the range. So I did push the board to its limits, and while I was riding, I was pushing hard. I was going at about 30 kilometers an hour most of the time, carving a lot. I weigh 83 kilograms, which is about 180 pounds. So considering all that, I got 22.4 kilometers, which is 14 miles. And that number is way below what the spec sheet says on Teamgee's website. But there's no doubt if you rode the board, even in medium, cruising along down the street, you'll easily get 30 kilometers. Maybe higher. And the top speed that I hit was 37.3 kilometers, which is 23.3 miles. That is quite a bit lower than what you can physically get on the remote while it's not moving, but apply some load and obviously you're gonna get a lower top speed. Overall, the Teamgee H20 rides exceptionally well for a board at this price point. The wheels are big and grippy, so they absorb a ton of vibrations from the ground, and the roads out here are not the best, and I still had a very comfortable ride on the Teamgee H20. My favorite feature of this board is actually the deck. I find this shape just a dream to ride. Because of the drop down in the deck, it does make me have to stand a little bit narrower than I normally would, but having that concave shape and that drop down, it really locks your feet into these little grooves and you feel that you're in control of the board and your feet aren't going to move around at all while you're riding around. Plus that concave and the raised lips on the edges make turning so easy. I managed to do a full U-turn around a path that was probably about 8 to 10 meters wide. Initially I thought that the distance on the thumb wheel was going to cause some issues, but the ESC is super smooth and the torque really isn't that overpowered. There's no chance of you being thrown off this board in any of the modes. Even in H+, where the torque is a little bit punchier, you're not going to get thrown off at all. One thing I wanted to mention is that it is possible to turn the remote off while you're riding, even while you're accelerating. Luckily it doesn't affect the board still stays on, and when it does happen, the board continues to coast. It didn't actually happen while I was riding, it was just a little test that I did, so I thought I would share it with you. It's just something to keep in mind if you're the kind of person that grips that remote really tight. The other thing that bugs me is that there is no way to access the battery without ripping the grip tape up from the top and undoing those bolts. So you can't extend your range by carrying an extra battery. Aside from those two things, there is a lot to love about this board. I've already mentioned how awesome the deck is. Those wheels are nice and grippy. I'd be interested to see how well they do in the long term. The ESC is quite good, there was no disconnections, and the acceleration and braking was smooth as butter. And overall, I think it's a well-built board that's just gonna get the job done. It's not one of those insanely dumb fast boards, which makes it perfect for beginners and intermediate riders. If you're starting out in the eSkate game looking for your first board and something that's gonna grow with you as you get more confident as a rider, the Teamgee H20 is a perfect choice. It's got some decent range and top speed, so you'll be able to keep up with the top end riders on the group rides. Ultimately, I think the Teamgee H20 is a commuter board where you'll be riding it for medium to long distances. So the price of the Teamgee H20 is $699 US, which is about low to mid-tier price range, and for the board of this quality, I think that is a more than acceptable price to pay. So that is the Teamgee H20 electric skateboard review. Thanks so much for sticking around this far. If I've missed anything or you have any questions, just ask below. I answer every question that I get in my comment section. Hit that like button if I've helped you out, or if you think it's gonna help a new beginner e-skater get into this scene. We all love having more e-skaters around. Also, if you want to stay up to date with all electric skateboard reviews and news, hit that subscribe and notification button. It means the world to me. So thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.